All right, ladies and gentlemen. So tonight I want us to talk about the character and integrity success scale, because one of the most profound lessons that I learned many years ago when I made this decision, I said, I want to be a great actor. That's what I want to be. I want to really focus on that. And I don't know how I'm going to get to New York or LA. I don't know how I'm going to get on Broadway or in movies or television on stages. I don't know how, but I was committed to doing it. And I didn't know anything about acting or training or anything of that nature. And a good mentor of mine, encouraged me to talk to the director of Cameron Theater at that point in time, Margaret Ford Taylor, and she became not only my acting teacher, but also my artistic mentor. And one of the most profound and simplest things she said in my very first class was, I'm going to teach you the craftsmanship of being an actor. I'm going to teach you how to develop the skill set so that you can be very fluid on stage and bringing characters to life. But she said, none of that will matter if you are not a good human being. And if you want to be a great artist, you have to be a great human being first. And that for me, really, I first of all, I said, I'm in the right place. This is someone that I want to follow when it comes to her teaching and her leadership as an artist. And that changed the whole foundation for me. And I applied that to everything else that I made up my mind to do. So when we look at the definition of character, it says the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. The mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. And there's a great scene, it's a phenomenal movie called An Officer and a Gentleman with Louis Gossett Jr. and Richard Gere. And Richard Gere is going through naval training or flight school. He's in the Air Force, he's enlisted. And he comes from the street, he comes from Hohen with his daddy. He has no character, no moral or ethical compass whatsoever. He's only out for himself. And Lou Gossett Jr. is playing the drill sergeant. And throughout the course of the movie, you see that he knows that this Richard Gere's character isn't he ain't about nothing, and he's basically just trying to get him the heck out of there. And there's a pivotal moment in the movie where he catches him selling boots and buckles. Good job, knock out those 10 pages. He catches them knocking out. He's selling boots and buckles instead of shining his own. He's selling them already pre-shined and making money off of it. He catches them. And he's like, look, you're out. You need to get out of here. And Richard Gere is like, I'm not leaving. He said, you can kick me out, but I'm not leaving. He said, okay, by the end of this weekend, you're going to quit. You best believe it. So he takes him through this rigorous, intensive training and just beating him down the whole weekend. No rest, no nothing. He's just going at him. And throughout the course of this beat down that he's laying on Richard Gere in this movie, he says, why are you here? Like, why do you want to be in the Air Force? He's like, I want to fly jets. I want to fly jets. He's like, I ain't talking about jets. I'm talking about your character. I'm talking about your character. Because Richard Gere was focusing on this prize. And the prize was, if I go enlist in the Air Force and I make it through basic training, I got a real shot that I can qualify to fly jets. And he wasn't thinking about his personal development. He wasn't thinking about interpersonal skills and relationships and how the cultivating of relationships reflects in the kind of squadron that you can build up and the type of leader you can be. He wasn't thinking about any of that. And he hadn't addressed these severe character deficits, even though he had enough drive to get through basic training. And it wasn't until he was at his breaking point physically, and he still wasn't quitting. He wasn't giving up, but he was on the verge. He was emotionally exhausted. He had become so physically taxed that all of his tough guy persona, all of his hustler's mentality, all of his I'm gonna get mine, I ain't worried about nobody else, I'm gonna get my, all that stuff just faded away because he was too exhausted to keep that facade up. And in that moment, Lou Gossett, the drill sergeant, sees that he's not gonna quit, and he's like, all right, you out. Like, I'm kicking you out then. If you're not gonna quit, I'm throwing you out. And in that moment, he's like, no. He's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare do it. I got nowhere else to go. And he's totally just broken in that moment. And Lou Gossett sees his vulnerability. He sees that he really wants to do something with his life. He sees that he's not beyond redemption, that he can change, that he can make a shift in his character. And in that moment, he says, okay. He's like, all right, go on and finish cleaning up them toilets, and we're gonna keep it moving from there. And it's such a powerful movie. I'm sure some of you have seen it back in the day. If you haven't seen it in a while, it's always a good watch. So when you look at character, it's how you show up in every facet of your life. And this is not something that you can compartmentalize, but we see people do it all the time. And I don't recommend that. And I understand, like, I get it. Like, there are elements of life that we can be so overwhelmed with life. We can be so under stress with the demands and the responsibilities and obligations that we will find and justify routes of escape because we just want some relief from the pressures of life. Life is relentless. It just keeps coming. Like, it doesn't care who you are, what your goals and aspirations are. It doesn't care if you're healthy or not healthy. It doesn't care if you're in a great relationship or you just broke up with somebody. It doesn't care if your kids are all in alignment or they're all in 20 different directions. Life is relentless. And so if you try to compartmentalize it, you're missing out on a higher vibration, a greater opportunity to have a revelation in your life and greater impact in somebody else's. For example, we've all seen the leader, whether it's in politics or in civic or in social or any setting that you pick. We have all seen leaders of men and women, both male and female leaders, who are excellent at what they do. And then there invariably will be a scandal that breaks. Perhaps they're having some sort of infidelity on their spouse. Perhaps they have gotten caught embezzling money. Perhaps they've gotten caught because they're pretending to be one thing in front of their followers, but in reality, there's something else, even though they're condemning the thing that they say that they're not. That's who they really are. We've seen this time and time and time again since history immemorial. And that being said, we understand that if you try to compartmentalize it, eventually the truth is going to will out. It may come out while you're alive. It is definitely going to come out when you're not alive. It's going to come out. Truth will always will out at some point. You can't just keep things hidden or try to compartmentalize how you're moving because you want to do what you want to do, even though you're good in this lane, but you suck over here. And so when you look at your life, your professional goals, your aspirations, your dreams, your hopes, your relationship goals, your spiritual goals, your financial goals, when you look at all of the totality, physical and health and well-being, you want to be a holistic human being that exhibits character in every phase of the game. One of the greatest compliments you can give someone is you could say to that person, man, this is what they chose to do, and they're really good. Like, they're a great facilitator. They're great with people. They understand their strengths and their weaknesses. They know how to delegate. They know how to bring people together. They know how to communicate in your language instead of theirs. It's one of the greatest compliments someone can bestow upon any of you is that you have a well-rounded sense of how to move in this world, because there are always going to be different moving parts. And your ability to successfully impact those parts, to successfully realize your goals, it starts with your character. Got to be able to look in the mirror and know at the end of each day, I gave this day everything that I had. I played full out. I was present, not perfect, but I was present. And I made a commitment, and then I kept my commitment to my commitment. Something about when you decide you're going to get up a half an hour earlier and you actually do it. You get up before the alarm goes off because you're so excited about this new commitment. How many of you all have ever made a commitment to get up earlier in the morning? You were excited by what you were going to be doing, and you woke up before the alarm. Has anybody ever had that? Anybody ever had that experience where you get up before the alarm? Yes, fantastic. Now, what does that say? It tells you that the mind is such a powerful tool that we can be our own internal alarm clock if we are in alignment with why we're getting up. It's a beautiful thing. Has nothing to do with how much or how little sleep you've gotten. Some of you all have the experience, and I'm talking to me as well, when you have to catch a flight the next morning, you keep getting up. Like you keep waking up because you don't want to oversleep. You don't want to miss the flight. So you end up checking your phone every half an hour, and you don't really sleep for like 4 or 5 hours anyway, because you're like anticipating getting to the airport on time, catching that flight. Why? Because you're in alignment with what it is that you're going to do. You don't want to let anybody down. You don't want to miss the flight and mess up the whole schedule. There's too much at stake. There's too much value that you're assigning to getting up on time, which is why a lot of you don't get, not a lot of you, some of you may not get a good night's rest the night before a flight. I don't sleep well. I just end up staying up all night because I'm like, man, I'm so excited. I'll sleep on the plane. I want to get everything ready. I'm doing work. I'm all fired up. I'm all fired up and too excited. So I just end up not really sleeping the night before a flight because I'm in alignment with what's gonna take place the next day. Now let's look at the definition of integrity. Now, this is a word that gets thrown around a lot. I don't know if it gets thrown around in your circles, but it certainly gets thrown around a lot in mine. But let's check out the definition. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. He is known and she is known to be a man or woman of great integrity. So basically, do what you say what you do. If you're going to walk the walk and talk the talk, make sure you're talking the walk and walking the talk. So if I come to you and I present myself as someone who is qualified to speak on any level of leadership, then I have to be the message that I bring. Now, this was something that was drilled into me by my speaking mentor, Mr. Les Brown. He would always say, you've got to be the message that you bring. And so for me and my money, one of the reasons why I love gathering, I love spending time like this is because I know that how I'm moving throughout the week, I have to be able to sit in front of you all, because to me, that's accountability. I got to be able to sit in front of you all and tell you, I didn't miss any days working out. I got to be able to sit in front of you all and tell you, I didn't miss any days grinding, doing on my grind, doing at least 10 plus hours every single day. I got to be able to sit in front of you all and tell you, I'm showing up for my kids. Like I'm very present with them every single day. I'm very present with how they're moving throughout the day and what they're doing and what they're not doing. I'm very present in earning my spot next to my queen, making sure that I'm doing the right things to earn my spot. I don't take a day for granted in our relationship. I keep asking myself, how can I be better? Now, why is that? Because at one point in time, I didn't have much integrity when it came to relationships. At one point in time, I was the guy that was dating someone over here and dating someone over there and dating someone over here. I didn't want to settle down. I didn't want to be tied down. You couldn't tell me nothing. And you know what I did? I compartmentalized how I was moving. I was compartmentalizing my life. I thought, well, if I'm really good in my lane as an actor, if I'm really good with my friendships and they can depend on me and I'm reliable, if I'm really good in my spiritual development and learning and studying and reading the Bible and studying the Torah and looking at the Quran and looking at the Tao Te Ching, and if I'm really good at that and anything else I can think of, like, fitness. Well, if I'm not so good with the relationship thing, if I'm not really, I don't really want to commit, but I'm not going to say that because I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I really want to date. I'm going to go ahead and date somebody else. I just won't say, I'm just not going to say nothing. I'm going to date somebody else over here. I'm just going to do that and not really be serious. And well, see, ladies and gentlemen, that's called a lack of character, because I could have simply just said up front, listen, I'm not looking for anything like that. I have no interest in that. If you just want to have some fun, we can do that. But I didn't have enough character to say that, because I was like, well, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't want to let somebody down, blah, blah, blah. And I was out of integrity, and that I was compartmentalizing, and it kept me out of integrity in that one spot, that one area in terms of my journey. I was not being a holistic human being. And what happens is, if you're good at certain things, sometimes you'll get a pass. Sometimes people will give you a pass. And this is where it gets dangerous. This is why self-accountability and looking in the mirror and taking 100% ownership is so, so important. It's about how you feel about your character. It's about the standard that you set for yourself when it comes to your integrity. And because I was in a semi, I'm not going to call it high profile, but I'm off Broadway. So I have good visibility in the off Broadway scene in New York City. I have some credibility because I've done some movies and done some TV guest appearances. So my name was getting known in those circles. So people respected me as an artist. They respected my craft. I came to work early. I stayed late. I was always over prepared. I worked really freaking hard. And so if I'm, having a dalliance here or there, that's like, listen, in the entertainment world, sometimes they think, oh, that just comes with the territory. They think it's cute. Like, oh yeah, of course he's got a couple of women, and that's just what they do because he's an actor, he's an artist, right? And they do it for women too. Like, I'm not saying it's just for men only. We romanticize not having character. We romanticize being out of integrity. We think, oh, look at that, isn't that romantic? He was married, and then he made a movie, and his co-star, he fell in love with his co-star. He left his wife, and now he's with his co-star. Isn't that romantic? We try to justify and make that shit look sexy, and it's not. It's not cute. You have no character, and you're out of integrity. If you make a commitment to somebody, it's just me. I'm just talking about me. If I make a commitment before God that I'm going to be dedicated to you for the rest of my damn life, and then because I'm on a movie and it feels good at the time, I decide I'm gonna cheat on my wife. No, let's just call it what it is. You ain't got no character. You ain't got no integrity. So unfortunately, there are symptoms that reveal themselves in our culture that sign off on that. Not everybody, but there are symptoms that sign off on it. So each and every one of you as individuals have to raise the bar on your own personal character and integrity. I'll give you another example. See, look, I'm a father, I'm a parent. I'm very mindful of how I show up in my life. I can't be like, my kids can't see me just slacking off and being sloppy. They can't see me not eating the right foods. They can't see me not taking care of my body. They can't see me being lazy. They can't see me not being disciplined, because I know they're looking at what I do more than what I say. They're taking who I am in, not just what I'm saying, right? Do as I say, not as I do. I don't have that luxury as a parent. I don't have that luxury as a leader, because the responsibility is so much greater if you are choosing to be a leader. But I don't think there's anybody on this call that's not leading somebody by an example. It's very rare, unless you're a hermit and you work behind a blank screen and nobody ever hears your voice or sees your face and you never have any reaction. Most people are leading someone or somebody's by their example. And if we start with character, it means if If Connie says, here's my commitment for the first quarter of 2023. Here's the activity I'm committed to. You keep your commitment to your commitment. I was talking to Jamila over the summer, and I remember her saying, I'm so proud of myself because I've been, getting after it. Well, see, that's character, because nobody's watching her. Nobody knows. Maybe she told her family, I don't know. But no one beyond that scope really knows the commitment she made to herself. But I remember her vividly saying, I'm proud of myself because I'm getting after it. I didn't feel like getting after it today, but I'm getting after it. I think she and I were talking, she was outside at the park or something. But I remember stuff like that. That's character. If Ty says, I am going to be a better man, I'm going to check this out. What if you lived your life as if it's on a big ass screen that everybody can see? What if every facet of your life you had to live it on a screen, like The Truman Show? Remember Jim Carrey, that movie when Ed Harris was the director, The Truman Show? What if that was your life? What if people could see? See, listen, you can turn on the TV, the Ed Blunt TV, at any point in time, how I interact, how I talk to Nadia, how I talk to my kids, how I talk to at any point in time, even when I'm angry or upset, even when my temperature is high, at any point in time, you can put that, blast it out to everybody. And I'm totally comfortable with it because I'm not doing anything that I wouldn't want you to know about, that I would feel like, oh, don't say that, you got to keep that hidden. Why? Well, because I learned through my own flaws and imperfections, through years of making mistakes and trying to compartmentalize and thinking, well, if I'm really good over here, I don't have to be so good over there. There's a great scene in the movie American Gangster, Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. And Denzel Washington's playing this drug lord. He's got this drug called Blue Magic, and Russell Crowe's the prosecutor. He's been chasing after him for a long, long time. And throughout the course of the movie, Russell Crowe's character, he's having trouble with his ex-wife and his kid because he doesn't have any time, doesn't really see him that much. And his wife is like, I'm moving to California. They're in New York and New Jersey. She's like, he's like, you can't take my kid away from me. And so they're in court, and he's trying to present to the judge why he doesn't want her to leave and why he's a worthy, role model for his kid. And finally, his ex-wife comes over to him and says, look, you know what really pisses me off about you? I'm paraphrasing. You're an honest cop. Yes, you don't take money. Yeah, nobody can buy you off. You're so high and mighty. But the only reason you're such an honest cop is so you could be deceitful in other parts of your life. So you could cheat on me and sleep with all these women and be a straight up hoe and not be a responsible dad. That's why you pride yourself on being an honest cop and not taking money. And you could tell, like, she just slapped him with so much truth, and he's frozen. And then he's like, you know what, Judge, I'm not fighting this. And he's like, you're right. He's like, you're right. I'm not a fit parent. I got to get my shit together. And so he's like, I'll come see him in California when I can. And he came to that revelation because for years he had been justifying, compartmentalizing his poor behavior because he was a really good, solid cop who never was on the take. And this is like people do it all the time. So I don't know what you all, maybe there's something that you're taking a shortcut on. Maybe there's a part of your life that you're giving yourself a pass on. Maybe there's some parts of your life where you could be in better integrity with yourself and with others. Maybe you have cultivated a habit of saying you're going to do something, you're going to hit this goal, you're going to reach this attainment, you're going to hit this level, and then you don't do it. And there's no accountability and there's no consequence. Ladies and gentlemen, if you start with your character and your integrity, and you allow that to be the foundation, and you build everything out from there, I'm telling you, your life will dramatically improve. Your life will change for the better in so many ways that you can't even anticipate. And what you do, see, the more you do what you say, the more what you say comes true. It's transformational. It's not easy, but it's transformational. It is so freaking worth it. So when you look at the success scale of character and integrity, take a look at yourself and give yourself a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. How do you rate yourself in terms of your character. That means how you show up. How do you show up when you don't feel like it? How do you show up when it's really hard? How do you show up when you're freaking exhausted? How do you show up when you don't have you have barely enough belief in yourself to get out of bed? How do you show up then? That's your character, your integrity. Do you do what you say and say what you do? If you tell somebody you're going to call them back, do you call them back? If you tell somebody you're going to show up, do you show up? Do you come early and stay late? Do you go above and beyond when it comes to giving somebody your word, so that when you give them your word, they're like, that's gold. It's done. It's a wrap. I'm so excited because I am in business with this person. I am in relationship with this person. This person's in my camp. This person's in my circle. I know if they say something, it's done. I know I don't ever have to look behind my back or over my shoulder and worry about them doing something that's going to bring shame or embarrassment to themselves or us and what we represent. Ladies and gentlemen, let that be the foundation of who you are and how you move, and watch how things start to move towards you in this thing called life. Have an awesome and amazing week. We'll see you guys next Sunday, same time, same channel. Make sure that you're sharing these links, inviting new people on the call. Have an awesome and amazing week. Thanks so much, you all. See you soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Ed.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ed. Have a
Ed.
great week.
Thank you so much.
You
Love
got
the
it.
goat.
Thank you, Ed.
You
Thank
got
you,
it.
Ed.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, man. Most definitely.
Appreciate your time, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, good to see you, Carlos. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, man.